Hello, good morning, my friends. How are you? Welcome to another edition of Behind the Mic. My name is Mike Avery, so I'm here behind the microphone. Mike, behind the mic. Good morning. How are you on this hump day? Always a pleasure to have you along with us. On a little bit cooler Wednesday morning, and it feels pretty good, doesn't it? Boy, that weather at the end of last week was absolutely nasty, brutal. Hey, good morning, buddy. How are you? Oops, where'd you go? There you go. Craig, always a pleasure, my friend. I hope work slows down for you enough. You can get the boat in. I'm still anxiously awaiting my boat so I can put her in the slip not too far down the marina from you. Ken, good morning. How are you? Davina, you've turned into a regular viewer. I appreciate that. Hello, Bruce. Nice to have you along with us. Joe. That's all I can say. Good morning. How are you, buddy? Mike, nice to have you along with us as well. Randy, Johnny Bowler, the Bear Whisperer. Can't wait, Johnny. Johnny, I might make it easier for you this year. I'm seriously considering, and I haven't figuratively pulled the trigger on this. I'm seriously considering using my 350 Legend for the bear hunt with you. You know me, I'm a bow hunter, but I'd like to take a Michigan bear with that Michigan made gun. Oh, look at this. My handsome outdoor enthusiast. That makes me a little bit nervous. Oh, excellent. She's going to get the cast off and her walking boot on. Good. It's been a, been a long time, hasn't it? Bruce says, Mike, what day is it? It's hump day. Jim checking in from Pratt Lake. Who's that? Jen, good morning. How are you? Davina went to the Detroit River. Where'd you go, Davina? Walleye jigging. Another limit. Excellent. Johnny says use whatever you want. I appreciate that, Johnny. It would be a big change, wasn't it? Wouldn't it? From sitting 10 yards off the bait with a recurve to maybe moving back 40 yards and using that Brenton. I'm thinking about it. Hey, Ted, I posted the pictures of the kids fishing. Thank you for sharing that. That's wonderful. Mad Jack, good morning. How are you? It is hump day. I notice when I do this, you can see the fact I broke off that tooth right there. And I'm not happy about it because now I get to go back to the dentist and wait through the whole thing again to get it fixed. This is what I need to hear. Walleye are chomping good on the bay right now. Sorry, Mike, but they love night crawlers. You know, by the time I get that angler quest and get it on the water, I might succumb to crawlers. I know. And the heavens opened up, and Avery talked about using crawlers. It's not something I would want to do, but I am just so anxious to get that boat and to get out in the bay chasing walleye that I don't know. I mean, don't look for it. Don't count on it. Don't plan on it. But heading out, always an adventure next Monday. Looking forward to it. Excellent. Hey, Ross, buddy, good morning. How are you, my friend? Again, congrats on a 41-yard shot. It was 1 week ago today. Lots of nice size fish. Bob checking in from Marysville, sorry. Nice size fish. Well, by the time I get out there, those nice size fish will be gone. They'll be headed north, and I'll be chasing little 13 to 15-inch fish. But I'm jonesing to get out there. Absolutely jonesing to get out there. Fortunately, or unfortunately, I am filling my time right now waiting for the boat, chasing birds. When do I get my boat? Brad Dupuis says hopefully by Memorial Weekend, which means in the next week. Hopefully. Scott Hand of Walleye for Warriors says the Walleye for Warriors boat captains goes out today. The emails, Randy Iamurray, be expecting your email as verification. Now, I didn't say that it was going to happen for sure. And God said, let there be night crawlers. Where is that? Is that in the book of Fishinicus? Leviticus? Fishinicus? Fishinicus, chapter 6, verse 12. Is the new boat to be called the SS Nightcrawler. No, I knew that I would, once I even brought up Nightcrawlers, it's not going to happen, but maybe. Hard to believe, but you've never fished walleye. That's not right, Kevin. Tim, when we go to Northern Ontario, my handmade harnesses with a crawler outfish any particular. Did you hear me? Probably. The guys over in the studio who are actually on air hear me talking about what day is it. They're probably going, Avery, you're an idiot. Keep it down in there. But at least I didn't shoot a hole in the Johnny Cash water tower. I heard the guys, and here I'm in the studios of WSGW. I heard the guys from the morning team talking about this. When we're done, Google Johnny Cash water tower, and you'll see what I'm talking about. It's kind of funny, but it's also just flat out vandalism, right? And very expensive vandalism. So what else? Okay. Hey, good morning, Barry. How are you? Interesting, Bernie. This is one of my topics this morning. It's comical, Bernie says, reading the posts about the bear in Midland and how many people freak out about it. I'm going to talk more about that, except Scott Hand just got my attention. True skinny water fishing last weekend. Oh my gosh. 16 to 24 inch fish in 4.5 to 6.5 feet of water. Now that is skinny water. How was the water clarity, Scott? You must have been north, right? Or I don't know. I'm making an assumption. I cannot wait to get back out there on the skinny water. Mike, the start is to Captain Mike. The start is to smile. I am smiling. Could not agree more. Kevin, if you bring night crawlers, you're not fishing with me. If I was to experiment stained water north, excellent. If I was to experiment with night crawlers, and I don't think I will, it would be on my terms, and it would be when nobody else is on the boat with me. I would go out there by myself and experiment and play around. And I would never admit to anybody officially, yes, they want us to register deer harvest this year. I will. Hey, Paul, how are you? I will be talking more about that on the show this week with Chad Stewart of the DNR. I started to say something negative about a fellow broadcaster, and thankfully I was able to hold my tongue, and I'm not going to say it. I'm not even going to say it. Look at that. As Avery gets older, and I'm going to be 64 here in a month now, I get smarter, I think. Anyway, let's talk about turkeys. And if you have your bird, you're going to say, Avery, you're crazy. But I'm getting really concerned about the lack of turkey numbers in our state and the declining turkey population. Now, yes, there are pockets of the state that have a good number of birds still. But the more people I talk with, and the more people I talk with who are property owners of places I have hunted in the past that traditionally, year after year, are overrun with birds, and they tell me it's hard to find a bird, it gets me concerned. Now, yes, I don't have my bird. I haven't even been able to call a bird in range yet. The property I'm on, I'm somewhat limited because I have to pull them off adjacent properties to my buddy Doug's farm. I started out the season knowing of only 2 longbeards in the section and not one Jake. I have not seen or heard a Jake. And here's something else that I find interesting, and it's not just my observation. Again, it's as I check with turkey hunters across the state, the birds are not gobbling this year. Is it a weather thing or what? But I mean, we're into May, and I was out there when it was 80 degrees on sunny days, and I couldn't get a bird to gobble. I didn't hear any gobbles. I'm wondering, and this is just thinking out loud, and it's probably get myself in trouble for doing this here live on camera and on mic and in the studio. You know, we as pheasant hunters changed I don't want to say the genetics and I don't want to say the biology of pheasants, but we changed the habit of pheasants. It used to be in the old days, when you kicked up a rooster pheasant, he would cackle. They don't cackle anymore. Pheasants don't. I'm wondering if we are somehow unintentionally manipulating the turkey population into birds that don't gobble, because the gobbling birds get shot and the ones that stay silent, stay quiet, are not as likely to get shot. It's just an observation, just a question I had the other day. Somebody far smarter than me would be the person to answer that question, but bird numbers are down. Like I said, there are pockets of the state where they have them, but they're down nationwide. And I've been talking to some pretty smart people about this who have some very interesting theories on what's happening. And they're not ready to talk about this publicly yet, but I hope that we get to the point where we can, because I hope that we're not on the cusp of a problem here. And it makes me wonder if maybe it's time to reevaluate our fall turkey season in Michigan, especially the fact that they allow us to shoot hens as well. Maybe it's time to adjust that fall season. Or am I jumping the gun here? If I talk to a biologist, would they say this is just a natural cycle? It's a weather thing, yada, yada. It's not anything to do with bird flu or avian flu or anything like that. Maybe they'll say, just let Mother Nature run her course. I don't know. But turkey numbers are down and they are not gobbling like they used to. Joe says they can't hunt birds up there in the fall. He's up in, where are you at, Joe? Burt Lake? Black Lake? I got a mental block here. Tim says, I think the same thing here in Ohio. 10 years ago, the gobblers were on the rise. The last couple of years, I've seen fewer and fewer birds, and I'm out driving the wooded roadsides a lot. And that's another thing I'm basing this on. People who, Hubbard Lake, thank you, Joe. People who spend a lot of time on the road, the back roads in Michigan, say they just don't, not just hunters, just people looking for birds aren't seeing them. No fall season in Gladwin either, Jim says. All right, well, maybe that's good. Cancel the fall season on the hens. And see, that's hard to do. I mean, you wouldn't be able to do it this year because it's already out there. It's already in the guide. This would be something you'd be looking at for fall of 2023. Ross says no fall hunt there either. Okay, so there's a lot of the and Mike Natkowski had an incredible turkey season. And there are people who did, lots of people who did. And I may still stumble into a bird yet. I've been playing cat and mouse with the one gobbler that, he's not a gobbler, the one longbeard that I know is left. I'm not convinced that one of those two birds didn't get shot. I got some time yet. Tim says it's coyotes and raccoons in his opinion. Dan says, Mike, what day is it? I'm not going to do it as loud as I did before. It's hump day. It could be, but a guy I talked to last night who has been doing extensive predator control on his property. Actually, it was Monday night I talked to him. Extensive predator control. He's pretty much taking care of the coyotes and the coons, and he does have a fox running around. His numbers are down too, drastically. So I don't know. There's something yes, indeed. Feral cats do need to be taken care of. Yeah, feral cats are a problem, but it's a problem that can be easily addressed, if you know what I mean. What else? So while turkey numbers seem to be down, goose numbers are up, but I'm working on those as well. Not controlling the population, but controlling where they go. I did get my goose barricade up, and people kept saying, well, spray the lawn with something. Well, I couldn't find a spray. And one of the sprays that was highly recommended to me is banned here now in Michigan. You can't even get it. Okay, guys, but okay. Davis says, coons and possums eating the eggs. No doubt about it. But has there been a dramatic increase in the population of coons and possums in the last 2 years? Because there's been a dramatic decline in the turkey population in the last 2 years. Jimmy's checking in from Louisiana. Just had my first turkey season on our property down here where I didn't hear one gobble. I saw 2 hens the whole season. Something weird is definitely going on in the turkey world. I think that sums it up. Something is definitely weird going on in the turkey world. The experts will admit they don't know the answer. Like I said, there are some interesting theories, some interesting concepts going on, and skunks as well. But again, is there a dramatic increase in the number of skunks in the last 2 years? I don't think the number of predators has increased that dramatically in the last 2 years. All right, Johnny, talk to you later, buddy. Okay, Scott Hand says, if you find a dead crow, turkey or dove, blackbird, we need those birds to go to the lab, especially around Montcalm County. Scott makes a good point. Trapping or harvesting of pelts from those predators are down. There's something going on. But again, well, avian flea, I don't know. Heather says there has been an increase of nest raiders because trapping numbers are down. Enough to make this kind of an impact, though, Heather. I mean, you would know, Heather, more than I would. But goose, I put up the goose fence, which has become a yearly project at my house. I have a beautiful pond behind the house. When we moved in 7 years ago, there were 4 birds on that pond who made their home on that pond. Well, guess what? Those 4 birds had a bunch of goslings every year, and those goslings come back to the pond, and now they're nesting, and we're overrun with geese. Now, I don't mind geese as long as they're somewhere else, but I have come to know geese as giant or big flying rats. Seagulls, in my opinion, are flying rats, and geese are big flying rats. You can't shoot them here, Joe. That's the problem. I'm just inside the city limit. Although the problem's so bad that I think my neighbors, if I went out with a crossbow, and I'm not even going to say it because it would be illegal and I would never do that. That's the good question. That's what I was saying too, John. Is this a 1 minute or 4? 4. Okay. Is this a natural turkey cycle? That's it, and that's a good question. I just think if it was a natural cycle, when I ask the experts this question, they would say, "Oh, it's just part of the turkey cycle, like grouse and woodcock." But they're not saying that. Interesting theory. John says the fungicide coating on corn seeds in the spring is what my friend John and his friend think are killing the turkeys. And this is kind of along the line of another theory that has some credibility that I'm hearing about as well. Huh. So anyway, I got the goose problem solved. It is so rewarding to watch those big flying rats come up out of the pond, 6 of them at a time now, with about 1 million goslings behind them. And boy, those goslings are cute, aren't they? I bet they would be really tender and taste really good. What do they call squab? What do they call squab? Baby doves? Squab? Delicacy? Squab? I think squab. All right, Tim. See you later, buddy. Mike says they've hammered the predators, and turkey numbers on the properties he hunt have been great the last few years. Yeah. Squab. That's what Joe just said. Squab. Yeah. Well, I can't help but look at those goslings and think squab. I know that's kind of sick, but that's the way we had goose poop everywhere. Not anymore because they can't get up to the yards now. Right. Squab are pigeons. But I'm saying I look at those goslings and I'm thinking squab. Snapping turtles. Let's fill that pond with snappers then. Okay. Also, goose numbers are up, but also bear numbers are not necessarily up, but there is no doubt that their territory is expanding. What happens is, for the most part, the young male bears get kicked out of the territory by the old dominant boars, and they go looking for sows. Well, they can't go north, so they tend to work their way south. And just the other day here in my part of the state, in fact, a mile from where I used to live a few years ago, a bear came into a bird feeder. And it's interesting to get the reaction of people who don't live in bear country traditionally when they see a bear. They freak out. I don't. I think it's wonderful. I love bears. I love being around bears. I love seeing bears. I love knowing there are bears in the area, but I'm not afraid of bears. And you don't need to be afraid of bears either. Not black bears. They're not going to bother you. Morels are still popping up. We've had a little bit of rain. Could use some more. It's getting kind of late in the season, maybe. What else? Okay, in less than a minute here now, I've got to switch my focus. I will not be able to interact directly with you. I will not be able to answer your questions as I am right now because I'll be switching from this microphone, my social media microphone, to this microphone, my official broadcast microphone. Brian says lots of bears around here and his baits are getting hammered, and he is in Ontario, where I will be bear hunting in mid-August with Ron St. Louis of Northern Wilderness Bear Outfitters. You got to get to work also, Ross. All right, Ross, we'll see you tonight. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Oh, I started a clock here. 1. Blast off. Okay. So that's the official start. Brian says, do baby bear cubs taste as good as squab? Jim says, DNR did a good job suppressing the fire up there. Excellent. All right, my friends, I'm going to switch my focus, as I say, to recording the radio show. So inevitably, somebody will ask me a question and I won't be able to respond. And you'll say, well, why are you ignoring me? I'm not, because I got to go to work. But I will be back here tonight for another edition of Wednesday Night Live at 7 o'clock on my social media outlets, where you and I will have a chance to interact directly once again. In the meantime, have a great day. Oh, I didn't even get to tell you who's coming up on the show. You're just going to have to listen to find out. Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine show right here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network. More than 30 stations, AM and FM stations across the great state of Michigan. I'm here for 3 hours each week talking about the great outdoors here in the great state of Michigan and occasionally beyond. Why do I do this? I don't know. It's just something that has evolved over the years. It's part of my personal history, my family history. I grew up in a family of hunters and anglers and trappers and shooters. So it's just something that I can relate to. It's something I've been blessed to make a career out of. And it's something now that in the later stages of my career, I feel a certain desire, a certain conviction to try to continue this history and this tradition in whatever small way that I can. So I come on in here in the radio studio on this microphone each week for 3 hours talking about it, hunting and fishing and shooting and trapping, conservation issues, wildlife issues, even some wild game cooking. And we will do that once again this week. So what's going on in the outdoors since we last talked? Well, we had a bout of warm weather. No, not just warm weather. We had a bout of summertime weather that I physically and mentally wasn't quite ready for. Yeah, we had a cold spring, or we're having a cold spring for sure, but that bout of midsummer temperature kind of threw me for a loop. It didn't keep me out of the turkey blind. Didn't do me any good as far as the turkeys. I'm still out there chasing them. I've got through the end of the month yet. I continue to play cat and mouse with what started out as 2 longbeards at the beginning of the season. Now I'm not convinced that one of them hasn't gone away, hasn't gone to that big turkey roost in the sky. I don't know if a hunter got him. I haven't seen him laying dead on the road anywhere where he was strutting across the road and got hit by a car or anything like that. But I continue to work them over. But I am concerned about a couple of things. As I think about my turkey hunting experiences here in this same part of the state where I've been hunting for the last several years, and I talk with other turkey hunters, and I talk with landowners, and I talk with biologists, and I talk with people just driving the back roads on a daily basis, There is no doubt that the turkey numbers in Michigan and unfortunately beyond are down. In some places, considerably. Now, what's the reason for this? Is this a natural cycle? Do turkeys have cycles like grouse and woodcock do? I have not. I've asked this question of biologists and have not been told that's the answer. Is it a result of just weather in the springtime? Cold, rainy weather that the hens aren't getting successful hatches like they have in the past? Probably a factor. Predators, of course, predators are a factor. But I don't believe that statewide there has been a dramatic increase in the number of predators that would correspond to a dramatic decrease in the number of turkeys like we're seeing across the state. Now, yes, there are still pockets in the state where there are lots of birds, but overall, there seems to be no doubt that turkey numbers are down. Why? I don't know, and I'm not sure anybody knows. There are some interesting theories out there, and I hope to be able to explore those here on the Outdoor Magazine radio show in the near future as it becomes appropriate, as these people are willing to talk about those theories and maybe take them beyond theories to hopefully some kind of answers. But here's something else I'm seeing. And I am almost reluctant to bring this up because you might just think I'm flat out crazy. And maybe I am. But I'll go back to pheasants, ringneck pheasants. It used to be when you flushed a rooster pheasant, he cackled. And it was one of the most wonderful sounds in the natural world. When you kicked a bird up or when your dog kicked a bird up, a rooster would always cackle. And aside from the visual proof from looking at that bird that it was a rooster, you got that audible confirmation, okay, that's a rooster, he's a fair target. Now, over the years, and I have not pheasant hunted in several years, but I get this from expert pheasant hunters, including Tom Lounsbury, who says rooster pheasants do not cackle anymore. He says, we shot all the cackling birds. I'm wondering if we're seeing something similar in the turkey world. This year, and this is not just my experience, this is the experience of a lot of hunters across the state. And again, it's not universal. Your hunt, your mileage may vary. But the birds are not gobbling this year like they have in the past. Again, is it weather related? Yeah, I would expect it early in the season when it was cold. Maybe they would gobble on the roost and hit the ground and not talk until mid-morning or whatever. I can't get birds to gobble, and I'm not hearing birds gobble, and I'm talking to other hunters who are still out there saying the same thing. I mean, I've been out there in the middle of the day in 80-degree weather when the birds should be gobbling their head off, and they're not. Are we seeing something in the turkey woods similar to what we did in the ringneck fields, that the birds that gobble and become easier targets are being shot off, and the birds that are left realize if I gobble, now they're not humans, right? They don't have that type of thinking. I don't know. What will turkey hunting look like here in Michigan in 10 years? Will the numbers be down? Will they gobble on the roost and not once they hit the ground anymore? I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud, basing this on what I've seen, basing this on my conversation with other hunters and property owners. Interesting, though. From my perspective, it's an interesting discussion. Maybe holds no water, but I find it interesting. While the number of turkeys is down, the number of geese certainly isn't. But I've been working on that. Since we last talked, I did get up the goose fence. The goose barricade is now in place. And those big flying rats can no longer come up into my yard and make the mess that they used to. So and it is so rewarding to watch those big flying rats come up out of the pond with about a dozen goslings behind them, come waddling up to the yard, and they see that goose fence, and they sit there and they squawk at it, and they honk at it, and they gripe about it, and they are not happy at all. And that makes me smile. I love making geese unhappy because you can't get up in my yard, you big flying rat. Something else we're seeing more of, and not necessarily an increase in the number, the size of the population, but certainly the range, the geographic distribution. Bears, black bears. And this time of year, it's common to see bears more than other types of the year, right? Because they're up and they're active now, they're hungry, and they love bird feeders. If you have a bird feeder up in bear country, you may well get a visit, and your bird feeder may well end up on the ground. But we're starting to see it in parts of the state that it is kind of unusual. For example, the central part of the state in Midland County, in fact, about an hour and a mile from where I lived a few years ago, a bear came into a bird feeder, and the homeowners got pictures of it, and they posted it online. And people, you would have thought there was a pack of wolves loose in a subdivision. I get it that if you're not used to seeing bears, they make you nervous. But I think bears are the most beautiful, wonderful, interesting one of critters in Michigan. And for the most part, they're very shy and they're not aggressive. It's not like we got grizzlies coming into our backyard. They're black bears. You know, honestly, they're more afraid of you than you are of them. So I think it's cool that we're seeing bear populations expand. I love bears, though. You know that. What else? My fishing season, thank goodness I'm still chasing turkeys because my fishing season is off to a slow start. The Angler Quest that I've been anxiously awaiting for, Brad Dupuis, Mr. Angler Quest himself, says it should be ready. He said, hopefully, in quotes, in air quotes, hopefully by Memorial Weekend. Well, that's coming up pretty fast now, isn't it? So I can't wait to get out there. What else? Morels. We've had enough rain in some parts of the state. Morels are popping. I've had people send in pictures to the Facebook page of giant morels. By the way, if you've got something going on in the outdoors and you want to share it with the world, go to my Facebook page and post it in the mentions tab, and I'll share it. As an alternative, you can send me an email to mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com, and I will share that much more quickly, though. If you want to get it on, just post it directly in the mentions tab. Coming up on this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show after the break, Mark Sack of Great Lakes Sportsman talking about springtime pan fishing. Then Bill Piles of Ohio Bow Hunting Outfitters. He says we've got one more opening for our big bow hunting adventure in Ohio the third week in October. Bill will have the details on that. In hour number 2, Chad Stewart talking about fawns. It's that time of year, whitetail fawns also. And this is no great surprise, but you're going to have to register your whitetail harvest this fall. They've been working on that for a long time. Nick Green talking about a fishing promotion they're working at in MUCC. And then hour number 3, retired Coast Guardsman Joe Marion talking about staying safe on the water. And then wild game chef extraordinaire Dave Miner has another great recipe. That's all coming up this week right here on Outdoor Magazine. All right, my friends, if you stuck with me, you no longer have to listen to the first segment of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show, although I would strongly encourage you to do so. I'm going to stop this live feed. We will continue to record the rest of this week's show, also record a Polar Craft podcast, and I will be back. John said he'd love to see the goose fence. John, I have it posted on the Facebook page. Scroll down from this live feed, and you can see the goose fence. It's there. I posted it yesterday. All right, my friends, have a great day. Talk to you tonight on another edition of Wednesday Night Live. And thanks for joining me on this edition of Mike Behind the Mic.